Welcome to Talking Giants presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. Got some real news. We got some real news besides Devontae Booker. Back-to-back episodes. We're going to talk about the Leonard Williams contract, John Ross, which is fun, and then Cullen Gillaspia, maybe the most overreacted to Giants signing in the life of Talking Giants, at least for 45 minutes. Justin, how are you?
Vibe is certainly a lot better than yesterday, like 100% without a doubt. I think I'm just more relieved than anything, right? I think the benchmark at which you have to ask yourself for free agency, I definitely think the draft, the answer is most of the time yes. But for free agency, I think you want to ask yourself, are the New York Football Giants a better football team today than they were yesterday, right? That's the simple sports radio question that you want to ask about your football team. Yesterday, don't think you can say yes. They lost Dalvin Thompson. Today, now knowing that Leonard Williams is here, now knowing that Leonard Williams, that deal being done can allow for cap flexibility within this year, and adding on a wide receiver for really good depth purposes, I think we are a slightly better football team.
Yep. Slightly. I guess if we're going from yesterday, because Dalvin Thompson technically was yesterday. So we're going to get into all of that. First, we do have to say this episode was brought to you by three special people. Griffin Osterhaus.
Good name. Ostie.
But you need it's not like Aussie, like Australian. It's like put a Y in there and you got Oyster House. And that would be a great last name.
Well, like Ostie. I'm feeling Ostie as a nickname.
Ostie. Eli Wortman's a Simple Man radio guy, and he's a shooter. I like Eli. And then we got Daniel with no last name. I'm assuming it's Daniel Jones trying to stay anonymous, and his grandma, Glenda Jones, sent them. Justin, who is Glenda Jones' grandson and these two other people?
Glenda Jones's grandson went to patreon.com/Talking Giants, and for $2 a month, they get to hang out with us as we record live shows, and they get magnets, they get free shirts and raffles twice a month. Patreon.com/Talking Giants. We have a lot of fun.
And one more thing. We have not done this all off season. We're going to get into the breakdowns of players and talks about contracts in a second. Please leave a review. We haven't asked all off season. We have not asked one time all off season. It's been since before the Dallas game that we've asked for a review. Leave a review. It's the easiest thing you can do. And our next landmark is 1,000. And me and Justin have to think of something that we promise we'll do at 1,000. I thought of maybe of us like jumping in the Hudson River.
No.
So hit us with ideas. No, that actually might be the easiest thing we could do.
No.
We'll tweet at us some ideas for that. We want to get to 1,000.
Oh, I know exactly.
We've already taken over first place, and that's next on the list. So please leave a review. You can do it literally right now. Like, you can do it and listen at the same time. You can leave a review, listen to the podcast, and drive at the same time. It's not the hardest thing to do in the world.
Oh, you want to hear what I did this morning when I was driving? Or not here, I'm going to show you.
Picture of the sun's rise.
I took a picture of the sunset this morning. Look at this beautiful picture.
The sunrise in the morning.
Wait, hold on. Let me reduce the brightness. Look at this beautiful picture.
We've all seen the sun.
You know what? This is the picture that told me that today was going to be a good day. That's what that picture told me. But I know exactly what we're going to do for 1,000 reviews. We're going to go golfing and we're going to vlog the entire thing. But we have to do it in
just do that.
We have to do it in preppy Vineyard Vines clothes, which I know we would both hate.
Think I hate golfing. I don't hate golfing. I hate golfers. I know I'm going to get a million comments about that. Relax. Take a joke, golfers. That's the biggest issue I have with you. All right, let's get into let's talk about the Giants football, okay? People aren't here to hear about our talk about golf. Let's talk about Giants football. Justin, the Giants reached an agreement with Leonard Williams for 3 years, $63 million, $45 million guaranteed, a $21 million average annual value. Justin, this was looking like it was holding the Giants up. There was reports, even on Tuesday saying that they weren't close to a deal. They're not close. It's a bad situation right now. They're in a tough situation. They get it done. Leonard Williams gets a lot of money. me and you are very happy that Leonard Williams is on the team. But we can also talk about how I do think the Giants fumbled this a little bit. And I think it stems all the way back to the day he was traded.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make the hindsight argument now. So here, a lot of people didn't like how I was kind of moaning, complaining a little bit yesterday. I'm gonna be completely honest. Day it happens, and looking at the bad situation that the Leonard Williams Giants feud was, right? Or the agents of Leonard Williams, looking at how bad of a situation it was, now looking at the results a couple hours later, I'm very, very pleased. I'm very, very pleased. I mean, what, 45 million guaranteed. You would feel like even though there would be maybe a little bit of a cap hit for 2023, you feel like there maybe has to be an out in 2023,
Well,
right?
Here's the breakdown of it. $22.5 million signing bonus. So that goes to all 3 years at $7.5 million per year. So the cap hit for this year is 11 mil, because the contract for this year is only 3.5 mil after the signing bonus. So this year is 11 mil. In 2022, next season, is 26.5 mil. It's big because you have the 7.5 cap bonus and then 18.5 mil. And then in 2023, the cap hit is 25.5 mil. But with the 45 mil guaranteed, it would seem that the entire contract part is voidable, with the 7.5 mil being like dead cap. So with a $25.5 million cap hit, if they were to cut him in 2023 going into that season, they would save 18 mil. Or no, they would save, they would save 15 mil. Wait,
15.
I have it lined looked up.
I don't know.
Let me look up. The last year is voidable. We're only this. You have the 7.5 mil of dead cap, and then the 18 mil of it would free up. So if we need 18 mil and Leonard Williams isn't living up to it, it would make sense to cut him in 2023.
Yeah, and dead cap isn't the worst thing if you don't have too many decisions where you have to cut ties with players like the Giants did a couple years ago, but with Olivier Vernon, Snacks Harrison, Odell Beckham Jr., et cetera, et cetera. So if you're not in that situation, you're not in dead cap hell. And also, yes, the Giants and the National Football League are expecting that the cap is going to expand. So having that low cap hit this year and putting it off to future years, even having that out for year 3, I think that is a huge win. I think it's a win for Leonard Williams, and I think it's a win for us, especially, Bobby, when you look around the rest of the NFL and you're seeing the production that certain edge players have put up, and then you're seeing the contracts that they're getting. I'm sorry. You can have the bias of interior defensive linemen. It's tougher for them to put up stats, which, yes, that is true. It's tougher for them to put up production. Leonard Williams has only done it sparingly throughout his career. But look at the other guys. They're not, besides Shaq Barrett, Bobby.
Shaq Barrett was the only guy that I thought was better than Leonard Williams.
Only guy.
Yeah, Shaq Barrett was the only guy, and he got the most out of those guys. He got an 18 mil average annual value. Hendrickson got 15 mil. Yannick got 13 mil. Lawson got 15. Floyd got 16. But to the opposite side of that, Justin, and I don't really feel like reliving the trade stuff, but the trade stuff put the Giants in a bad situation because they had to tag him coming off of his worst, he wasn't bad in 2019, but the half sack, that means something on the open market, only having a half a sack. So it would have been awesome to get a contract done last year, and him betting on himself and having this career year put the Giants where it's like, oh, well, we definitely can't lose him now. Where if Leonard Williams was just a free agent leaving the Jets and having this year, he's not getting 21 mil a year, and he's not getting 45 mil guaranteed. So that is the argument that I can see where it's like that is frustrating. It's not the end of the world. We have Leonard Williams. He's a good player. At the end of the day, we're probably talking about a difference of 4 mil a year, which is important. But I do see that side where it's like, man, this is frustrating the way this all goes down.
Can you imagine, though, if the Giants last offseason, knowing how important last offseason was, just to get good football players? Now we're talking about the Giants need specific areas. The Giants need to address specific areas. Last offseason, the Giants just needed good football players. Can you imagine if we did give, now I guess maybe in hindsight this would have been good, but then again, you're betting on Leonard Williams in the first year of his deal having the breakout year of 11 and a half sacks. Can you imagine if we gave $16 million average annual value to a guy that had a half a sack?
He wouldn't have got that, though, to be fair. He wouldn't have, like, he wouldn't have gotten more than James Bradbury on the open market.
That's what the tag was, 16 million.
Yeah,
am I wrong?
That's the tag that has nothing to do with your production. It has to do with your position.
Well, the tag, I think that the tag did have something to do with his salary for this contract, because he knew that he didn't want to take an average annual value that was going to be less than that.
Yeah, it was the second year that the franchise tag number goes up, so it didn't have to do with his production. So that's the argument against it. But we've kind of beat that to a pulp. But we're glad Leonard Williams is here. We couldn't lose like Leonard Williams. It was much more important than Dalvin Thompson. Now let's talk about Leonard Williams as the player. I know we've done it a lot this offseason because of this contract situation, but we won't have to do it until his player profile and projection in camp. So let's talk about it one more time. He is not relying on Dalvin Tomlinson. So this idea that, with Dalvin gone, he's not going to have the same production. He had 9 out of his 11 and a half sacks were without Dalvin Tomlinson on the field. 8 of them were without Dalvin and Dexter Lawrence on the field. Before he signed with the Giants, or when he was traded to the Giants at the moment, since he had entered the league, he was 3rd in tackles for a loss for interior defensive linemen. He was 3rd in run stops, and he was 2nd in run and percentage of tackles that had no gain or a tackle for a loss for his position. So he was always good. He didn't have the numbers that he put up this year, although he did have good numbers. You know, the half sack was the anomaly for Leonard Williams. You know, he's had 5 sacks years, 7 sacks years, which is very good for that position. And Dalvin really didn't start popping off the screen until Leonard showed up too. So Leonard Williams is not dependent on Dalvin Tomlinson. Does Dalvin Tomlinson help a lot? Is Dalvin Tomlinson an awesome player, which we'll talk about him leaving a little more? Yes. But this idea that Leonard Williams' production is going to dip dip by a lot because Dalvin's not there, it's just not true. And we've talked about it in a million ways why this offseason.
Yeah, Bobby's talked about how, in a way, Dalvin Tomlinson started to really pop off when Leonard Williams arrived. It's a team game. It's a nuanced game. You know, it's not if this happens, then this happens. You know, it's not just a black and white game, right? You know, the value of Leonard Williams, you know, even in a down year in 2019, he had 11 QB hits. He played 33% of the snaps for the Giants in 2018. You double that, that's 66% of the snaps. So that's even down, you know, what he played 74% of the snaps in 2020. So it's even a couple percentage points down. So he would have had 22 QB hits. He would have had 4 tackles for loss, which isn't great. But I look at the pressure. That is the reason why I have always believed in Leonard Williams. The fact that Leonard Williams, despite the lackluster production in the gaudy numbers of sacks, you know, maybe even tackles for losses too, he always got pressure on the quarterback. And that is the most predictive factor of consistent, productive play on the defense side of the ball as a pass rusher, is if you can get pressure on the quarterback. Coming up in a couple different ways. Pressures, QB knockdowns, QB hits. Leonard Williams has always done well for that. And in his 24 games in blue, he has always done well in that category. And the fact that he didn't slow down with that in 2020, like Bobby, if he got 11 and a half sacks and 19 QB hits, I'd be very concerned. I would be like, I don't know if I want to give this money. But the fact that he did get 30 QB hits, which was a career high on an 11 and a half sack year, the fact that he did that reassures me that, yes, you know, what I thought in 2019, the fact that he got that pressure and then he turned it into sacks and then he turned it into more pressure, I don't think there's any sign of him slowing down. Now, if he does slow down, then you want to know what? It happens. I'm wrong. I'll take the fall on that, since I've been the biggest.
Risk you make with every free agent you ever. Right. So that's the risk you take with Leonard Williams. That's the risk you take with Shaq Barrett, Leonard Floyd, Yannick Ngakoue, Carl. Like that's the risk you take with any free agent where you're signing him to a multi-year deal.
Yeah. But
hopefully
at the time,
know him well enough to where that's not going to be the case.
But at the time the signing is happening, and I think I'm fair. And I think I'm a guy that I like to look at the numbers. And typically people that do look at numbers and analytics people, they're pretty tough on players. They love, people in analytics love to tell you that this guy isn't as good as you think. And my school of thought with Leonard Williams is there is nothing that is pointing to him slowing down right now. I'm not going to say ramping up and continuing to get better, because that would be insane, but there's no sign of him slowing down and getting pressure on the quarterback. And that is the barometer at which we need to judge Leonard Williams, not necessarily does he get more sacks than he did this year. He still needs to get the sacks, by the way. Like, you get paid this money, you need to get the sacks though too.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, like, if Leonard Williams has 6 sacks next year, and like you said, the pressure's around the same, he's the same player. That's not regression. Not having the same exact stats from the end of the year, especially out of position. I don't like the sacks are random, because the top guys do get sacks every year. But it is a little bit dependent on coverage,
A little.
And that's why I hate the term coverage sack. It's like, look at Bud Dupree's sacks. Look at basically everybody besides that top elite group of pass rushers. And they're not just beating guys in a second and a half. And then it's like, oh, well, this guy's sacks came and, he had 2-3 sacks games. Like, look at all the top guys. It's the same thing. They all get their best stats against bad teams. I mean, remember Khalil Mack even said versus the Giants, this is a stat game. Look at Aaron Donald. Like, 6 of his sacks came in 2 games. So I think it's when we get so in depth with our team and looking at our players that we forget that that's the same way things happen around the whole league.
Yeah, there was a good tweet today. It was retweeted by Eric Eager by PFF. Do you know who Justice Mosqueda is?
No, I do know that you probably didn't pronounce that correctly. Mosqueda. That's what it looked.
Moss.
It's probably Mosqueda.
Mosqueda. Well, look, sheesh, I'm bad. I'm so bad. I'm so white. That's the problem. Most sacks at the NFL level are effort/hustle coverage sacks. Watch a cut up of NFL sacks and see how many get home in 5 steps. Pressure is much more important than raw sack numbers and happen more frequently. I mean, frankly, you're getting pressure on the quarterback more consistent. This is just the game of football in general. You are more likely to get pressure on the quarterback than a sack. So the pressures are happening more frequently, and you can put your you can put your stamp on a game, arguably in the long run over a 16-game season, maybe one game. If you have a 3-sack game, boom, that sticks out and you automatically change the course of that game. But over the course of a 16-game season, if you can get consistent pressure on the quarterback, instead of just, again, the 10 sacks, 19 QB hit number, that's when you're most impactful.
That being said, pressure isn't a stat, it's an indicator.
Yeah.
We should just replay our fight during the Leonard Williams PPP all over again, where we fought about, is pressure a stat. We have like 3 fights a year, and that one of them was Leonard Williams PPP, which is when we first started doing. Oh, here's something, Justin. I looked at our first podcast episode video, and our frame was all screwed up, and both our faces are like in the camera like this.
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious to look back at.
Well, wait, because I have
darker because I was doing pools out in the sun and my hair was shorter, which I'm going to.
I think you turned down the volume of your microphone accidentally right there.
Oh, I turned it way down. Wow.
Yeah.
I need to go out and get some sun. If I'm going to go to the beach this weekend and get some sun.
Oh, good.
It's been too long. I get outside a little bit, but not enough. High of 89 on Thursday. How about that? All right. Justin, anything else on Leonard Williams?
I'm happy. I'm happy. We could look back at this next year. He could have a down year, and we could be like, God damn, we're stuck with this guy. But I'm happy right now. He's a very good football player. You look at the rest of the market and what the edge guys got. It's like, do we really want to? Matt Judon's had some nice years, but still, going to a different guy and who's going to come to a new system. I especially didn't want to give Leonard Floyd that money. Leonard Floyd hasn't had a year where he's had more than 20 QB hits in his entire career. And he just got a lot of money to be top tier pass rusher money. when he hasn't even proven that much besides this year with Los Angeles. So, and he didn't even get over 20 QB hits, like I said. So he's one of those guys that got like 11 sacks, but less than 20 QB hits. So I'm happy.
Happy. What didn't make us happy was Dalvin Thompson left. We didn't really, I don't think we gave our full thoughts on it because we did get hit with it mid-podcast last night. It sucks to see him go. I mean, I was mentally prepared for this, Justin. But I'm not torn up about this. I'm torn up. Like, it sucks because you love Dalvin. You know, he was a big part of our team for a long time. You know, came with our rookie deal. I forgot to turn my phone on silent before we started the episode. But the Giants are ready to replace him now. Like, you're not going to get the same production, but Austin Johnson, BJ Hill, those guys are ready to play and to play, you know, some important snaps. Leonard Williams, obviously. Dexter Lawrence, I think, is going to have – he's already good, but I think he's going to have a year 3 jump. And then even a guy like RJ McIntosh. So somebody harassed me today about that. Like, what do you like? And wasn't even like on Twitter. They text me like, yeah, what do you like about RJ McIntosh? I'm like, I think he does all right whenever he gets a chance. Like he had like 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits on like 100 snaps in 2019. And that doesn't mean they're all pass rush snaps. But long story short, the Giants are still really strong at that defensive tackle group. Where if you look back at 2020 and say maybe they have the best of it, I would have to go and look at everyone else's group, but we are still really strong at defensive tackle.
Yeah, I can't help but agree. The point that I said yesterday, now that the depth isn't as great, right? You know, now the Giants have gone from being one of the best defensive tackle rooms and the best defensive line groups in the National Football League, I still think, to being a good unit, right? Depends on how good the depth can be. But what you're doing right now, Leonard Williams, you're signed, bud. You're getting the money. Your snap share, it's going up to almost 80%. He got 74% in 2020. His highest that he got was 87% in 2016. That was his lone Pro Bowl year. Your snap share is going up, bud. We need to rely on you. You need, clearly look around. Even if the Giants get somehow a Kyle Van Noy, you're still going to be the best pass rusher on this team. And you are still going to be the guy. You're getting the money and you got to prove it. Your snap share is going to go up. You need to be the 3-down player. And then Dexter Lawrence, your snap share and your snap counts was only like 60%. You're a third-year player. We're expecting you to take that third-year jump. Now you're basically going to take the place of Leonard Williams. Maybe you're going to get 70% of the snaps. So then his production is going to go up a little bit. So you're not relying on the depth pieces and the rotation as much as you were in the past with the 3-man rotation, but you're relying on your 2 main pieces just a little bit more.
Yeah. And, Austin Johnson put up decent film. We talked about the contract, why we don't like it yesterday. BJ Hill, like, and anybody who watches film is a fan of BJ Hill. And then again, I think if you go and look at the 5th defensive tackle on every roster, I think RJ McIntosh would probably like stack up pretty good. I know I'm an RJ McIntosh truther. I really do like RJ.
You're Stan.
I'm an RJ McIntosh stan. I always those are the type of guys. I'm a believer. RJ McIntosh for 5 technique 2021. I'm not going to do that campaign. That being said, there's only 2 Jerry Reese guys left on the roster. Do you know who they are?
Evan Ingram.
Quick.
Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard.
Yep, Evan Ingram, Sterling. Only 2 Reese guys left. Isn't that's crazy? This is Gettleman's roster. It was last year, but this is Gettleman's roster. Speaking of Gettleman's roster, Justin, the Giants signed John Ross. John Ross, baby. 5'11", 194 pounds, 25 years old. We all know him from the 4.22 40 at the combine. Still a record. 1 year, $2.5 million, $1 million guaranteed. So, we're assuming that the 1.5 is based on how much he plays or if he plays. Justin, I love this signing. It's low risk, high reward. I view it as the same way, the Raiders should have viewed Nelson Aguilar last year. We'll talk about him as a player, but this is a very good contract. There is no risk to this contract. $1 million. He's barely cracking the top 51 with that guaranteed number. This is a good contract for a guy that has a lot of talent. He has issues, but he has a lot of talent, and the Giants need that, and they need speed at the wide receiver group, and that's what he provides.
For those of you who are maybe asking why are Bobby and Justin so excited about this signing, and why were they so critical of Devontae Booker yesterday? So let's break it down this way. Bobby, who would you, at the end of the 2021 season, I say that there is a much, much higher chance that we are looking back and saying that Ross has a much more of an impact versus Booker. I think there's more. I think
but if
there's a better
Saquon gets
chance.
hurt, Booker turns into running back 1, and so that gives him a better chance. But if Saquon stays healthy, then yes, absolutely, Ross has probably a bigger impact.
Yeah.
If he makes the roster, there's a chance he could make. There's a chance Ross could not make this roster. Say they do end up getting a wide receiver in free agency, they draft one in the second round, and they like Dante Pettis more than Ross. So there's also a chance he doesn't even make the roster, where Freeman is going to make the roster.
Devontae Booker.
We keep screwing that up on us.
It's the Devontae first name.
It's Devontae. One of my high school teammates, Devontae Pegues. His name was spelled Pegues, and it was always funny to see the the road announcer, Pegues, Pegoose, like Pegasus. I mean, he got it all. It was always a good time.
But part of the reason why we're a little bit more giddy about this signing is because it's a value signing. Like because there is no risk, but the reward is kind of high. Now,
the ceiling is a lot higher than Freeman too. Freeman's 29.
Oh, you said Freeman again. Booker.
And part of it is the Broncos having a running back named Royce Freeman too. It's screwing me.
That's just a lot of bad things. Yeah, I don't want to keep on talking about Booker and why we maybe don't like about that deal. I mean, go listen to yesterday's episode. But again, very little risk, and let's just talk. I want to talk about him as a player because I'm very excited about what he kind of presents as a player, and that's why we're excited about the signing.
In 2020, he only played 86 snaps on offense. He got COVID. And then he asked for a trade and even tweeted about 2020 was just bad for John Ross. But in 2019, he played 8 games, 28 catches, 506 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So in 8 games, he had 506 yards, which, for a full season puts him at a 1,000-yard receiver. 18.1 yards per catch, which is what we need. And then a 50% catch rate. His catch rate is horrible. In 2018, he played 13 games, had 21 catches, 210 yards. Get this. On 21 catches, this dude had 7 touchdowns. That is an insane ratio. That's just that number is crazy to me. 36% catch rate, that's brutally bad. And then 10 yards per catch. He's a big play. He's a big play guy. He is an electric. When you watch him, it's like, wow. That being said, he has some injury issues. He's had, knee, shoulder, groin injuries. He's had injury issues basically every single year for the Bengals. And this guy takes heat off of Evan Ingram with the way he drops the ball. His drops are so bad. Like, it's crazy. I went through 3 games of film. He had 9 drops. And then you did the numbers for 18 and 19. The drops are unreal. It makes me have some compassion on Evan Ingram, how bad John Ross's drops are.
Yeah, John Ross, he had a combined 15 drops in 2018 and 2019. And I think they were relatively staggered within each, there were 7 in one year, 8 in the other year. So it wasn't like one year was overwhelming compared to the next. So that's a problem. But is it strange that I just view that problem as catch the ball? Even, for example, Evan Ingram had a drop problem his rookie year. And then 2018, 2019, we weren't talking about his drop problem. And then he started playing hot potato volleyball again. So why do I just feel like you're a wide receiver, you're a skill position player, you fix it. Just catch the ball.
So I talked with our friend James Rapine, who came on for our Bengals preview episode of Sports Illustrated. He covers the Bengals. He's just hey, he had a confidence issue. He is someone who needs a change of scenery. He was drafted 9th overall. That's such high, lofty expectations when you get drafted 9th overall, and he just didn't live up to that. So he needs a change of scenery. And he's there wasn't a ton of creativity in Cincinnati when he was here. We won't talk about our offense at the moment, but he's like he definitely has a lot of talent, and he's why he's drafted 9th overall. So and he's just a big play machine, and that's what the Giants desperately need is big plays. And his speed, if they use it correctly, he's not gonna get number 1 wide receiver like attention, but it brings attention. It gets you more off coverage. It gives Darius Slayton options, and we know they're gonna do something else at wide receiver, whether it's in free agency or draft. So which means he can have those cornerback 2 reps and burn guys. So if they use him correctly, if he comes in with a good attitude, a changed mindset, we can see. I can see a lot of big plays for John Ross. I mean, look at Nelson Aguilar. When he had to change the scenery with the Raiders and had an awesome year. And look at the contract he got. So John Ross we can look back at this and be like, man, what a steal. I wish we would have got him for 2 years.
And we can also look back at it and say, this just resulted in nothing, which isn't bad. Like, it's not.
That's the thing. It's not it's like, okay, move on. Who cares?
It's not like we're talking about why did we give Devontae Booker? I'm sorry. Why did we give Devontae Booker $6 million, $3 million, whatever, to just do nothing, to get 10% of the snaps when Saquon Barkley was getting 85 and 90% of the snaps? So that's why this deal is so good, because it's like, he's a fun and an exciting player about what he can do. But it's also, there's no risk if it just doesn't work out, or even if he doesn't even make the team, which would kind of hurt. But with the injury history, if there's an injury bug that kind of pops up in training camp, he's probably not making the team. But in terms of the big playability, and Bobby, I even want to talk about some of your film breakdown. I don't watch a lot of your film breakdowns because I don't want to steal your takes, but I wanted to watch this one. But some more advanced stats: 15.6 average depth of target in 2019 for John Ross. That's a very large average depth of target. 7.1 yards after the catch per reception in 2019. I need to just say, I know, he only had 28 catches, right? But how impressive it is to have 7 yards after the catch when you are targeted so far down the field. I don't want to say it's unheard of. I don't. And I have some more. So here, I'll even just get into this right now. So in terms of his yards after the catch numbers, this is separation. So that's totally different. But in terms of his yards after the catch numbers, John Ross had a positive, let's see, what was his positive? Expected yards after the catch per reception. It was a total of, let's see, it was almost 2 yards. So again, the expected yards after the catch per reception based off the player tracking data, where the nearest defender is to you, where you are, where you are on the field, how far down the field you caught the ball. They're able to track how much yards after the catch you are expected to get. And John Ross averages 2 yards above the expectation. So that's really, really good. But the yards after the catch, considering how deep he catches the ball, it's really, really good. 22 first downs on 28 catches. We talked about the 15 drops. And talking about a separation too, which it's rare to get good separation when you're also catching the ball deep down the field, because typically you have a safety on top of you or you have a corner on top of you. And this is where his speed comes in. Looking at all of the guys who averaged over 14.5 air yards per target. So this includes Darius Slayton, by the way. All the guys in 2019 that had 14.5 air yards per target, John Ross had the most separation out of all those guys. And there were 11 guys that had more than 14.5 air yards per target. Really, really good for what the limited sample size.
Big play machine. Like I said, he's got an injury issue, a serious drop issue. This is a low risk, high reward. That's the way we do it.
But I have a question for you.
I hope I have an answer.
I saw in your film breakdown that, and I'm glad I saw this, that a lot of the coverages and a lot of the defenses Ross was facing in your video was when the Bengals were playing like single high safety, where it was a lot of man coverage. And what did the Giants offense face in 2020? They faced a lot of single high safety, and they faced a lot of man coverage. So, Bobby, you watched the film, you broke it down. Can you talk to us a little bit about how Ross can use his speed, and do the Giants have to use him in some sort of complicated complex way that they need to create something if this guy is going to work?
No, off coverage, he's good at those out routes. And here's something I pointed out in the video is Odell was the king of this, so I'm not looking for Odell level of this. By the way, drama queen, Odell, second act. It's like, boy, you need attention bad. Anyways, he was the king of this. When was the last time a Giants receiver took a slant and took it and got 30 yards of it? It was Darius Slayton versus the Jets in 2019.
Yep.
It didn't happen. I'm not even saying for a touchdown, just for an extra 20 yards. That does not happen where it's like we get the slant and go. And versus tight man coverage against blitzes, the Giants were blitzed a ton. You should see some of those. And I think that was my biggest complaint with Tate. It was like, he was doing things in an unconventional way where it's like, man, why can't we get a slant out of you for an extra 20 yards? That's the type of stuff Ross does. And when teams run that, double A gap blitz on third down, and then they pop the guys out, which makes it really hard to read what the defense is doing. And, you have to set plays to be ready for the blitz, but then they don't blitz. So these routes are quicker hitting. You put Ross up the seam on that. Defenses stop doing that type of stuff when you do that. Defense stop doing that type of stuff when they realize, oh my, this play, we're trying to get cute, may lead to 6 points. It may lead to 6 points. So that's the type of stuff that the speed that John Ross does for the Giants. And that's why, like I said, it sounds like we're talking like we signed Kenny Galladay, but it's an exciting move. John Ross is an exciting move. It could end up turning into nothing, but it's an exciting move.
Yeah, and the critique of the Giants that we literally had yesterday is we're overpaying for depth players. And we kind of challenged the Giants. The Giants need to find their Nelson Aguilar. The Giants need to find their mid-tier player that they can get on the cheap, and then he overexceeds expectations. Bobby, we've been in such a point these last few years where the Giants have been so bad, and then we're constantly just relying on, we have another top 10 pick, and we're going to expect the world out of that top 10 pick. We have a lot of cap space, so we're going to expect the world out of the guys that we sign and guys that we overpay. Nate Solder's the biggest example. A guy that we have to overpay simply because we need a body. We've done too much of that. Even 2016 is an example of all this. We're signing players that we just are expecting the world out of, but we're just giving all these resources. We need to invest another top 10 pick in a player that we expect the world out of. We're even in that position this year at wide receiver. Which isn't a bad thing to have all these top 10 picks. It's a good thing to invest in capital, but the Giants haven't had those investments that they haven't had a lot of investment in that have panned out. And it's been like a surprise. And this signing has the potential to do that. And there hasn't been many signings where we have been excited about the value at which the Giants got that player. And this is one of the players that we do feel excited about. And I would say, as much as it is a priority of getting wide receiver talent in the building, getting some more offensive line help, the priority this offseason has to be, how can the Giants as an offense stop defenses from blitzing against them? How can they stop just saying, we can play sync, we only have to put one safety towards the middle of the field? There's sometimes, Bobby, there were no deep safeties. Zero deep safeties. Nobody was patrolling over the middle deep part of the field because, again, there was just no trust or no investment a defense would put that the Giants are going to throw the ball deep. There was none. So that's priority number one this offseason, of how can we defeat that mentality that defenses have against us.
Yep. And we expect some type of addition of wide receiver, whether it's draft free agency, maybe both. So there's no pressure on John Ross. Where with the Bengals, you know how it is, man. Expectations matter. Expectations they just matter. Even the way a fan base thinks of you. Like Evan Ingram. Like, okay, here's something. We're talking about John Ross. We're excited about him. He has a ton of drops. Bengals fans, when they think of John Ross, they probably think of him the same way as we think about Evan Ingram, even to a worse extent, because at least Evan Ingram has been somewhat consistent in production. Where it's just a change of scenery sometimes is a good thing. Where if the Chiefs were to go pick up Evan Ingram, they'd be like, hey, he's got some drop issues, but we can work with this type of talent and he doesn't have those first round expectations. So a change of scenery is good. So anything else you have on John Ross?
Yeah, and to be clear, John Ross does not take us out of the running for Kenny Galladay.
No.
John
Doesn't take
Ross
us out of running for anybody.
John Ross does not take us out of the running for Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, nobody. So, I mean, this is, again, a good depth signing that has the potential to be something, but are we surprised if it's nothing? No.
2016 at the University of Washington, John Ross, 81 catches, 1,150 yards, 17 touchdowns. Dante Pettis, 53 catches, 822 yards, 15 touchdowns. Them boys combined for almost 2,000 yards and 32 touchdowns in one season. Can they replicate that? No, but that's kind of a cool connection, though.
Yeah.
What number is he going to wear? 15? The dreaded number 15 on the Giants?
I mean, 11 was a number that he... Well, no, 11
Phil Simms
was...
is 11. He was 15, and then he changed to number 11.
Right. Who's number 11 right now?
Phil Simms is 11.
That number's not retired.
But the Giants don't retire numbers.
They're going to retire Eli's number.
I think that might be the first time. Like, did they even? I don't think they even technically retired Strahan's, did they?
I don't think so.
They retired all like the the vets back in the day. And I think they're not retired, but it's known like nobody. You're not taking number 92.
I want John Ross to.
Here, I'll look it up. Giants retired numbers.
I want John Ross to get number 11.
They're not going to give him number 11.
I want him showing up in sunglasses.
Number 11
day one.
is retired.
Ooh.
Oh, that's San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, no. The San Francisco Giants. I was like,
no,
it's
not. They ever meet up?
I think they meet up all the time.
Hold on.
That's a great call.
Let's see. Phil Simms is retired. It's actually retired.
The number is retired, or Phil Simms, the player, is retired?
The number is retired. Michael Strahan's is not, though. Numbers are Ray Flaherty, number 1. Tuffy Lehman's, what a name. Like, I think these guys are like vets. Mel Hine, Phil Simms. Yeah. The ones you know. Phil Simms, Wyatt Tittle, Frank Gifford.
Is Emlyn Tennell retired? It's messed up if he's not.
No. Joe Morrison, Lawrence Taylor, and the rest of these guys I don't really know.
And then Eli's going to be retired. But Phil Simms' number is retired?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't think he deserves that.
I do.
You
win a Super Bowl as a QB, and you're if it wasn't for Eli, if Eli just never comes around, the Giants never figure out a QB. Phil Simms is held in high regard. It's just him doing TV and all. Like, it's kind of distanced himself away from the franchise, and Hostetler winning the second Super Bowl kind of put a little taint on it. But I think Phil deserves that number to be retired.
I like this little bleeding blue talk we got going on right now. Giants History Podcast, check that out. Me and Snacks do it. But everybody that I've talked to, and this includes people that watched Phil Simms, my father included, and even some people that have interacted with us in the bleeding blue comments and in the live chat, people have said, yeah, Phil Simms wasn't that great. But then I do see some of the throws that he makes. And I want to do a little bit more watching. And as time goes on, I want to be more familiar with kind of how he played a little bit more. Because some of the throws that he made was like, oh my God, this is insane. That was an insane throw. But then you talk to people that actually watched him, and it was like, yeah, he wasn't that great.
But his Super Bowl was amazing too.
Yeah. I mean, 25 for 28. Yeah.
All right, Justin, last on the list for this episode, the Giants signed fullback Cullen Gillaspia, 6'2", 235 pounds, 25 years old. He's only played 20 offensive snaps the past 2 years for the Texans, 390 on special teams. He was a special teams guy at Texas A&M, and even had a block punt return for a touchdown against, or it was a safety against Alabama and that was pretty hype. I would assume that he's going to compete with Elijah Penny, which is fine. And And here's something. You know how people are like, oh, the fullback doesn't matter anymore? The fullback has made a comeback. Now, it's not the comeback that it was in the 90s, but the fullback has made a comeback. And then I'll love people say, we need offensive minds like Kyle Shanahan. You know, we need an offensive mind like Kyle Shanahan. You know who pays the highest money in the NFL to a fullback? Kyle Shanahan. You know who also does? The Kansas City Chiefs with Sherman, who retired. Good offenses have a good fullback, and it's something I've always wanted. And I wasn't a fan of Penny. Now Penny played well towards the second half of last year, as a blocker. But one, you have to be a special teamer in today's NFL as a fullback, and that's what these guys are going to do. They're going to come in and compete. Best man will win. So either Elijah Penny or Cullen Gillaspia will be cut come 53-man cut day. Maybe even before that. I mean, the Giants had 2 fullbacks on the roster last year. Remember the kid out of Pitt? What was his name? And they ended up cutting him. George Aston. So this is the same thing as last year. The reaction to this pissed me off so bad, Justin.
I was driving home. I saw that it happened. I was parked. I stopped at a light. Then Danny King texted us. Well, we were on the phone. Then Danny King texted us. I was about to stop at a stop sign. Leonard Williams got extended. Totally left my mind that the Giants signed a fullback. That was the timeline.
I'm doing a film breakdown on him, by the way.
You are? Good for you.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't I? The reaction to this was like, they need to get their priorities right. It's like, do you think we're hanging? They're like, hey, Kenny Galladay's agent, please shut up for a second, okay? We're trying to get look, this shows a bad look. Guess what happened 45 minutes later? Leonard Williams. 10 minutes after that, John Ross. Okay, it's not like it's Dave Gettleman in a room and he's just talking, like it's just him one-on-one doing all the free agency moves. The reaction to this was it was the silliest thing I've seen in a long time. And we try to not talk to Twitter on the episode, you know? It's like, you know what? This podcast isn't about Twitter. Oh my gosh, the reaction to this was comical, the way people were reacting to it.
I want to do a sketch. I'm the Giants. You're Kenny Galladay's agent. I want you to call me on the phone. Not actually call me, but just like pretend to call me on the phone. And ask like, hey, do you want to talk about a contract now? All right, I'm ready. You let me know when.
Okay.
Your call has been forwarded.
I'm actually going to call you.
I said don't actually.
I want to
call
actually
me.
call you.
All right. Well, my phone's on Do Not Disturb. Hold on.
You don't get phone calls on Do Not Disturb? I do.
No, you have to call me twice. That's what happens. All right, go ahead. Call me. Hello, New York Giants.
Hey, it's Kenny Galladay's agent. Thanks on the Austin Johnson contract. We're waiting on what's the offer? We should just talk with Miami.
Shut up. We need to finish.
Hate anyone who worked for the Patriots at one time, so I know it's useless for us to be talking.
Shut up. I need to finish talking with this fullback and goodbye. Screw you. That's how in a lot of people's minds.
Damn
that's
Patriots coaches.
That's how that went. Shut up, Kenny Galladay. I need to talk to this fullback.
The reaction was brutal. Here's this video that he did, which is hilarious.
It is Earth Day, my dudes.
He's a ball of energy. He would fit in great on if he ends up making the team, he has to be a 2022 Talking Giants offseason interview.
Yes, 100%.
And that will happen. So
it was him for if you didn't see the video, it was him in a blazer, little gut sticking out. He's got a cool hair, cool facial hair, blonde, kind of looks like Bobby Skinner, except just more facial hair
and shape.
And in shape. Bobby Skinner, you're in great shape.
We also both enrage the Giants fan base sometimes.
Both enrage the Giants fan base, so they have so much in common. And then he said, it's Earth Day, my dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Actually, it is Wednesday when you're listening to this. Hey, here's something. Did
he say Wednesday or Earth Day?
Earth Day, but the initial video that he's parroting is it's Wednesday, my dudes.
Okay.
It's just a dumb video. Here's something. Here's a little. Let's culture talk. That should be a segment. Culture talk. This guy wore number 12 for Texas A&M, which signifies the 12th man. How about that? Culture talk.
Wow.
Ball of energy. I I hope he wins the job for off fullback. How about that?
Have we said publicly that Elijah Penny has bailed on us twice for an interview?
Yeah, but also someone replied to our tweet saying like they met him and literally bought him like gifts for Xmas. So it's like
we have heard that Elijah Penny is a very nice person from multiple people, including I think some beat reporters. Like he's nice to some beat reporters to really talk to, but to us for whatever reason doesn't like us. So tough.
Yeah,
Talking Giants versus the world.
We tried to get him on before the 2019 season. Nothing. 2020 we had an interview set up for him. Never heard back. So never fooled me once. Shame on you. Fooled me twice. Can't get fooled again.
Fool me 3 times. Sign a new fullback and root for him.
Yeah. That's what we should do. Hey, Elijah Penny, you want to come on for an interview now? And then we'll have Cullen on, and it'll be like those prank calls where you call the pizza places at the same time and have them talk to each other.
Oh, cool.
And we'll just do an ambush interview of the fullbacks.
Fight.
So if he's a good fullback, I got some reps in. I did find a clip of. I'll save it because I don't want people stealing our stuff. But this doesn't do like if he's good, if he's good, if he's not, it doesn't matter. Even though it sends a bad message. Anyways, boy, people are on edge. I get it.
All right, so here's how we're going to end off the show. Moving forward, and maybe there's a chance by the time you're listening to this conversation doesn't matter, but there's a reason why we're having it at the end. Would you rather the Giants from here on out try to create some more cap space, which there's ways in which they can do that, create some more cap space to try and plug some more holes, maybe a CB2, maybe a Kyle Van Noy, a Jordan Jenkins, right? If they want to go CB2 and then a cheap edge rusher from there, bring back Kyler Fackrell. Do we want to see plug a few more holes, or let's just dive into Kenny Golladay and then
Golladay and Kyler Fackrell,
and then kind of do nothing after that? That's where you're at.
Bring back Colt McCoy. That's my dream for the rest of free agency. So that's
okay.
It. So we'll see. Again. We're doing.
I don't know what I want yet.
We did back-to-back episodes, so we're gonna wait. We'll play it by ear. Get big news, we'll do another episode. If we get another John Ross type signing, we'll wait until we get something. We'll have something out by Friday, at the latest. So we appreciate you guys. Make sure to leave a review, even if you're driving. We'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.